Welcome everybody to Built on Faith Homestead. This is our tiny house talk. It was supposed to be yesterday, but we just couldn't get it done yesterday.
No.
Yeah, too much going on. But today, it's Wednesday. Should have been Tuesday. We can pretend like it's Tuesday, right?
I guess.
I guess so. We'll pretend like it's Tuesday. Today on our tiny house talk, I did a video a couple days ago on being prepared and some things a person can do. And that spurred some conversation between my wife and I about things we know we need to get better at, right? We've got some things we know we need to get better at. Now, I want to preference this, okay? In this video in particular, we're going to be talking about when the stuff really hits the fan, right?
Yeah.
And from a biblical perspective, I'm talking about specifically like the whole like rise of the Antichrist, can't buy or sell without having the mark type situation, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so I want to be really clear. I'm not just talking about like, hey, stuff's got like an ice storm or something like that, which all this stuff will apply to those kinds of things, right? But I'm talking about the real time.
Yeah.
Is what I'm going to call it, right? And so there's some things we have to recognize if we're going to talk about that in any serious way, correct? Right? So if you can't buy or sell anything, you can't make any money of any sort without taking this mark of the beast that the Bible speaks of. There's some things we have to recognize, okay? Even if you have your land paid off, you have your house paid off, you have your vehicles paid off, you have everything paid off, you owe nothing. If you can't pay taxes on your stuff, they'll come get it and take it from you, correct? Right?
Yeah.
If you can't pay taxes on your home, they're going to come take it. If you can't pay taxes on your car, they're going to come take it. So I don't think it's wise to think that you're just going to be able to basically take cover on one particular spot. I think it's wise to be mobile. Yeah. If that makes sense, right? Almost think like you're going to have to kind of live like a homeless person, truthfully.
Yeah.
Right? And so knowing that and thinking about that, if that's the case, what are some things that you need to get better at, or some things that we know we need to get better at? And I'll just go ahead and start off. We cook a lot with wood on our barbecue grill, and we do things more than just meat, right? We burn wood for heat and those kinds of things. But I really don't know how to start a fire without like matches, at least.
Yeah, we need to do more of that. And even for myself as like a woman. So like, if, really bad times are here and stuff, like, I don't know, like men may need to go hunting for food. And women may need to, I think, figure out how to make meals with fire.
Yes.
And heat up water, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like to clean or bathe or something like that, because that's part of survival. Like somebody's always going to have to be searching for food.
Yeah.
Like we're going to always have to be doing
Constantly.
that. Yeah.
Constantly. And so I think it's wise that we both learn, right? So fire is one of those things that I think is a high priority, right? So you can cook with it, you can sanitize water with it, you can warm yourself with it. And on top of that, it may be something to calm your nerves, right? So a nice warm fire, something to just stare at and all those kinds of things. And so I think fire is important. So you're probably right, both of us need to learn how to start fire, whether that be with some sort of like flint striker, or whether that be like the super primitive rubbing two sticks together type stuff, right? We both need to learn, which I believe right now, since we do have the ability to use lighters and matches and those kinds of things, I think it's probably wise to not be in that situation and trying to learn it at the same time, right? So it might be wise to go ahead and buy like a flint striker. Yeah. And when we light a fire for our wood stove, like do it that way instead of using a lighter.
Yeah.
Right? And then probably you need to learn how to do those kinds of things, right?
Yeah. It's better to learn that stuff now than that time does come and you're like, oh no.
I've never done this before.
I don't know what I'm doing, and now, you can't go buy one.
And now it's
whatever.
life or death, right?
Yeah.
Now
Like,
it's life
I
and
don't
death.
think anyone would want to be in that position.
Right. No, because that may be a lot of pressure. Right. If you've never done it any other way.
And like, you know, if anybody's ever watched like Survivor Man, sometimes it takes him like hours to
Yeah.
if he didn't have a flint striker and he's using 2 sticks, it sometimes takes him hours like to get
Yeah.
the fire going, which would be miserable. So like, I would think practice now, you know,
Would be wise.
so you didn't have to be in that predicament later.
Yeah, definitely be a wise decision. And then, like you said, cooking. All right, so I know some friends of ours that cook on a campfire style cook a lot, right? And we probably need to do more of that. I have some stuff to do that with. An uncle of mine blessed us with a rack we can use over a campfire to cook on, which is really, really awesome. But you might think, like, who's got that kind of time today, right? We're all busy and all those kinds of
get
things.
it, yeah.
And that's true. But also, make an evening of it, right? Instead of taking your kids and going to do something in town or whatever, make an evening where you light a campfire and everyone hangs out by the campfire and you cook over it. And make it a fun thing now, and then if you need it later, you have it, right? Because even learning to cook that way, like there's some things you just have to kind of figure out and learn. And the only way you're going to learn it is by doing it.
Yeah.
And to do it now, whenever you're not under an immense amount of life or death pressure, right? So like theoretically, I'm not saying this is best case scenario, but if you mess it up really bad and you mess your food up, like you can go to the grocery store and get some lunch meat, or you can go to McDonald's and get everybody a cheeseburger, right?
Yeah, and you can make it a fun thing with your kids.
Absolutely.
Like, and they don't, you know, they're kids. I don't think they think, okay, I've got to go to McDonald's and go here to have a fun time. Like,
Right.
they're not like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just make it a fun ordeal.
Yeah, you take our kids, and you take the yeah, kids are being silly now. You take our deals, right? Or you take our kids, and you tell them we're going to have a campfire and we're going to eat outside of a night. They're amped up about it, right? Excited. So like learning to cook with fire, right? And learning to start that fire without is something that we know we need to get better at,
Yeah.
right? I think I, for sure, need to get better at trapping. I don't have any idea how to. I've never trapped. I've hunted and fished my whole life.
And really useful, I think.
Right. So think about it this way. Once again, remembering you may have to be pretty mobile, right? You may have to hop, skip, and jump places quite a bit. Kind of be on the move all the time. If you're going to spend a day or two in a spot, if you can set out some like snare traps to try to catch some rabbits or squirrels or something, that can be hunting while you're starting that fire.
And what if you couldn't carry a bunch of guns, you know, all the time? You know what I mean? Like,
and that's something that I try to talk realistically about with some friends and family that I've talked about this kind of stuff with, right? A lot of you guys, and I'm not anti-gun, trust me, not at all, not in any way, shape, or form. But realistically, if you're in that type of situation, what are you going to carry? Are you going to carry 5 or 6 guns with you, 10 guns with you, and 5,000 rounds of ammunition, right? Probably not of anything of large capacity. I actually think that a 22 is probably your best option because you can carry a whole bunch of rounds and kill just about anything you need to kill with a 22.
yeah.
Right. But you're going to run out of bullets eventually, right? No matter what, you're going to run out of bullets. You're going to run out of maybe somebody comes into your camp and robs you somehow or something like that. You know what I mean?
And trapping is something, it takes a lot of time to figure out. There's tips, tricks to that trade.
Yeah.
And that takes time from anybody I've known that does any of that.
Yeah.
To
And
learn that.
And I've never done it. So I've hunted and fished my whole life. Deer season's coming up. I'm getting jacked up to go do some bow hunting, go hunt whitetails with a bow and arrow, to go hunt whitetails with a rifle. The kids are all excited about getting to go, right? And we do get them very involved in those kinds of things at an early age and try to make it fun and exciting for them. A, because I think it's a great thing to pass down, and it is fun and exciting. And B, it's a good way to supplement your grocery bill if they ever had to, right? So we were, but I don't have any idea how to. I've never set traps, right? It's just not something I've ever done. I also don't think you're going to carry them metal like wha-bam, whammo traps.
No.
I don't think you're going to be able to carry many of those, right? But possibly a bunch of snares made of some thin cable would be something you could actually realistically have with you
Yeah.
and use,
I
right?
think you can make like homemade traps and stuff.
You can.
I'm not sure how to go about doing
You can.
that.
So that's what I've thought about, right? So some traps. So I know, like I said, for myself, right, getting better at trapping and learning, where I could at least, even pass that knowledge down to the kids or even to you. If you had to go set traps, right, you would at least know like kind of what areas to look for and what things to look for. Now, I do believe that obviously not everybody's going to be very good at everything, but everybody needs to kind of have an idea of most things, how to do things, right? So another thing we need to get better at is we know several of the wild edibles and the greens.
I was gonna bring that up.
Right, and those kinds of things. But we don't know a whole, like we know a bunch. We know more than probably your average Joe, I guess, our age. But we don't know nearly enough, I don't think. And also, if I don't have access to the interwebs, right?
So I have started a book, like a little notebook.
Sure.
With stuff. I need to get pictures with the description.
And what they're good for and those kinds of things.
I put like either medicinal or edible or both or whatever. And then I describe it. But I need to put pictures with it and add more to it. I started that when I was on bed rest with Leah. So what else was I going to do? But I think that's a good thing to know while you have the internet.
And
because you can look anything up that you want.
We probably do need to spend some more time, dedicate some more time on that. I know it's hard with kids and homeschooling, and Melissa's always knitting or canning, and I'm always got projects going on, right? But you think about it, if it's anywhere from the spring to the winter, and you're starving and you haven't ate, and could you imagine looking at a plant going, I don't know if I can eat that or not?
But you have to change. You would have to change your mindset too. Not, is this going to taste really good, but is this going to give my body nutrients?
Yeah, because at that point, taste really doesn't matter.
Is this going to make me last a little longer? Because you may be in that predicament,
Right.
Even just survival. Like if you got lost or something, it's a good thing to know.
Yeah.
I would like to figure out more of like greens that don't have a flower always. They're green. They're just, you know what I mean? Or like field greens that come up every year, but they're nobody really knows what they are. They're just growing a field. There's
so I'll give you guys
specific ones.
Some examples, right? So like we know, like your plantains or dandelions, lamb's quarter, goldenrod, wood sorrel. Like we know several of them. Pokeweed. But like if you guys look up, cattail. If you look up pokeweed on your internet webs right now, it's going to tell you it's poisonous.
There's a few of them, that they'll say it's poisonous.
And it is if you eat it raw, but so is pork, right? If you eat it raw, you have to boil it and then strain it and then boil it.
And a lot of people don't know, like cattail, the furry stuff that's in the brown little part, it's a good fire starter.
Right. And then the roots are edible, like a starchy, almost like a potato type edible.
Yeah.
Right. And so, there's some of that stuff we need to learn, and it probably would be fun to have a day of just like gathering, right? And then like
I'd like to do that for part of our homeschool. I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah. By the way, this is something Melissa doesn't know, but while Leo was feeding animals with me, she picked up a purple clover top and just stuck it in her mouth, and I was like, "No, stop! Quit just eating things. You don't know what that is, right?"
Yes. Be careful of that if you start learning that stuff, like with your kids.
Yeah.
We try not to let them eat anything unless we're outside,
So that is the rule, but as you guys know, kids will break rules. Yeah, kids will break rules. So we know we need to get better at fire and everything to do with fire, basically. And we know we need to get better at recognizing plants and those kinds of things, right? Now, let's transit. So from spring to fall, you can gather wild edibles, and hopefully you can shoot some like squirrels or rabbits, trap them, snare them, something, right? Those kinds of things. What do you do through the wintertime? Spring through fall is pretty simple, but in the wintertime, like you said, right? There's some greens that grow under the snow. There's some mushrooms that do grow under even really cold conditions, and some of that we need to learn better, right? Yeah. What about pawpaws? You guys know anything about pawpaws? That's like now, right? That's not in the winter.
I know.
But I didn't know nothing about pawpaws up and until A few years ago.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, right? I had no idea. And man, them things are yummy.
They are.
They are yummy. So it's I've heard it called the Ozarkian banana, right?
Baby.
I think it has a flavor that is reminiscent. It's kind of like a banana and mango mixed together, I think. Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. Okay, so in the wintertime, do you know that you can eat acorns? Right, if you can gather the acorns, like you can eat them. You can make even a flour out of them and try to make some bread.
Yeah.
Right, a simple bread of some sort.
Some of that stuff, like the nuts and stuff, may have to kind of save for the winter. Like,
Try to find a way to
somehow.
save it back
You know
some
what
way,
I mean?
somehow.
Because
Yeah.
you don't get as many nutrients from the greens in the wintertime.
Yeah, even in your greens, if you could
Or-
dehydrate them
Yes, somehow dehydrate them,
somehow. Send them in the
rinse
sun.
them off, pat them dry, let them sit in the sun. You can boil some water and make tea and still get the nutrients from the herbs. It's not like it is fresh, but you still get some.
Get
If you
something.
crumble up the leaves into your water, you'll still get a lot of the nutrients. So
Yeah.
you can do that
Yeah.
in the wintertime.
So, and in the wintertime too, right? I would think your primary food source is probably going to be meat,
Meat, yeah.
of some sort. You think about in the wintertime, most of your meat's going to be most of your calories are going to be meat, and so you go and you shoot that squirrel. You need to understand all the parts of that squirrel that can be edible, and you're going to have to get out of your head a little bit, right? So I know most of you are like, I'd never eat a squirrel, even, right? Or I sure wouldn't eat a squirrel liver or heart or something like that.
I think people would if they were that hungry.
Yeah, if you're starving to death, you're going to eat something, right?
You gotta do what you need to do.
And so, I think that's another part of it, right? Have you ever researched what it takes to be able to eat some of that stuff? So I know I did a few years ago, did a little bit of research on it. And a lot of the early settlers, they had a lot of sicknesses and things because they didn't eat liver. And they had to learn to eat that to get the vitamins and the minerals and stuff out of that kind of stuff, right? What about like... So I do think it's wise to have some sort of portable shelter, some sort of tent type thing that your family can get into, right? Mm-hmm. But what if something happens to that tent? What if it gets tore up in a storm, or you rip a big hole in it some way, somehow, or whatever? I think it would be wise to learn how to build a shelter dry enough that you could survive if you had to, right? And the part about that that's not fun is if you have to be mobile, you may spend all day or 2 days even on a shelter to keep you warm and dry, right? Packing it with whatever you can find to keep the weather off of you, and then have to just move on from it,
Yeah.
right? But understanding how to do that. And there's a few things right now you can go ahead and start gathering, like we talked about, like a flint striker, right? If you started right now, if you went ahead and got yourself like a hatchet and some hand saws and those kinds of things, something light and portable you can carry around, like those are only going to benefit you in the long run.
Yeah.
If we get in that time, but even if we don't, right? We use wood for lots of things anyway. Like I'm constantly using a hatchet, right? And I use hand saws to trim out places, like when I'm deer hunting and those kinds of things. So it's not like you won't use that kind of stuff now anyway, right? So I'd say shelter building is something I probably need to learn. I think I could probably figure it out, but I would hate to figure it out on the fly.
Oh, another thing. Or did you have anything?
No, go ahead.
I think it's a good... Luella, please quit. I think it's a good thing to learn to at least basic sew.
Yeah.
Men or women, really. You know what I mean? Like you said, like a hole in your tent. Well, you could patch that up too.
Right.
I'm trying to learn more on sewing more and more. But again, like, you may only be limited on what you could carry too. But some of the sewing stuff's pretty small, you know, like
So yeah,
just
a
a
pack.
needle and thread or something.
You can almost take like a little tackle box, like a little fly fishing tackle box,
Yeah.
and pack it full of like needles and yarns, or not yarns, but whatever that is. What's it called when you? Is it called yarn? What's that called? Thread.
Thread.
Right? To patch clothes and those kinds of things, right? I think along those lines, guys, this is going to sound real crazy, but I think it's wise to start, if you can at all, you're going to want to preserve your shoes for the wintertime best that you can, right? So maybe you start doing a lot of things barefoot, starting to toughen up the bottoms of your feet. That way you can go barefoot
That would
some.
really sound alone.
That's really crazy.
Yeah.
That's way out there.
Yeah.
You guys want to know a little secret about me? I actually kind of enjoy gardening barefoot.
I can see that.
I really do, right? So when it's really hot outside, there's a good chance I'm going to kick my shoes off and be out there barefoot in the garden working. I don't know why I enjoy it so much, but I kind of do. I don't have a reason behind it that I can think of. I just enjoy it. So some of that type of stuff. Shelter building. What about making medicine? We know about like making using greens and those kinds of things, right? But I'm gonna throw a somewhat controversial one out there, and I hope I don't offend anybody whenever I throw this out there. But if you knew how to make some sort of on the fly, some sort of alcohol to clean wounds and those kinds of things, that may benefit you,
Yeah.
right? So you're not going to have access to peroxides and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So if you know how to make a just a simple some sort of right, I'm not looking for taste or nothing. I'm just looking for something I can pour in a wound to clean it.
Yeah, just clean it.
Right. And basic first aid, I'll tell you, that's something we do need to get better at, is basic first aid, right? How to take care of a wound when you don't have all the conveniences of home. And that's yet another thing that I think is wise right now. Band-aids don't weigh very much, right? Bandages, those kinds of things, that doesn't weigh very much. And if you can have just a few of those things, it may be the difference between life and death, right? It may be the difference between an infection that kills you slowly and painfully, right?
Be like a movie and tear off part of your shirt.
You may have to, right? You may.
Wound, so it stops bleeding.
You're gonna have to go ahead and start getting that mentality right. That's for sure.
Not care so much about what you look like and.
Yeah, ain't none of that gonna matter.
No.
Ain't none of that gonna matter, right? It's just gonna be surviving. And also, I think it's wise, and something that I don't think I've thought enough about is, let's say you're going to have to leave your place of residence because they're getting ready to come take it or whatever, and you're going to have to go ahead and, like, when you first take off on that said journey of, I have to live like a homeless person now, right? Where do you go? What kind of places do you look for? Can you drive there? If you can't drive there, where can you walk to? Right? Do you have any water close?
Where the wind takes you.
Where the wind takes you. Do you have any water sources nearby that you can access? Right? Those kinds of things is something that I could probably need to get better at. Is like, I don't know that trespassing laws and all that. You're probably not going to be able to abide by much of that. You're just going to have to do the best you can to stay hid out, right? In those situations, potentially, right? To an extent, I kind of have some differing beliefs on some of that stuff too. So I used to believe in, like, man, one of these days we're gonna have to have like an underground church, right? Where like we meet at people's houses and down in the valleys and hollers and those kinds of things. And then the more I got to thinking about it and praying about it, I don't know that that's really our call. I think quite potentially our call is to just go ahead and publicly worship the Lord and take the consequences of publicly worshiping the Lord. But to have that place of retreat, that place where you can slip back to. So that's very biblical. You'll find that with the apostles and the disciples. You'll find it with Jesus, right? They usually had some sort of like desert place. Having that place of retreat where you can sneak off to is probably a good idea, and probably something we all need to get better at as well.
Yeah.
Right. So guys, we're going to wrap this video up. This is obviously not a full list, right? This is just to get your mind thinking. And this is something that we have talked about, like I said, since I made that last video, is I'm a big believer, like if I don't have something that I think, if I feel very uncomfortable about a particular subject in the Bible, not too many years ago, I would have been very uncomfortable talking about end time stuff, right? And so I started studying that in depth, to make that weakness a strength instead of a weakness, right? And now that's one of my favorite topics to talk about with people. I feel the most confident in talking about that in the Lord. And so I'm a believer of taking our weaknesses, our things maybe we're not good at, recognizing those things, and then trying to get better at them, right? And so this isn't a full list, and there's a mazillion and one things. I tell you what, why don't you comment below right? And tell us, what kinds of things do you think you can get better at, or that generally people need to get better at? Comment that down below on this video, and let us know, and maybe it will help us start
Maybe
thinking.
you have something that we need to do better at, we haven't.
That,
you know,
yeah,
or
and that we haven't
vice
mentioned,
versa,
right?
you know.
And so, what this video is meant to do is to get your mind thinking. And I always want to be very, very clear whenever we talk about these things. I'm assuming you know the Lord when we talk about these things, right? Obviously, the Lord, you need to know the Lord. All the preparedness in the world won't save you from hell.
No.
Right? And I do think that Christians in the United States, especially because we are so spoiled, I think we need to have it settled in our minds that we're willing to die for our faith. Right? Which is an uncomfortable conversation, and I know that. But we need to get that settled in our mind, because we can't allow food and those kinds of things to have control over us. We have to be willing. So the Bible says that death has lost its sting for the child of God, right? And we have to understand that death is not... Surviving isn't really our primary goal in life, right? Our primary goal is to spread the gospel at all costs, even if that means death. And I know you guys don't like to hear that, I'm sure. That's an uncomfortable conversation, but please read your Bible. That is abundantly clear, especially from what most folks would call the church age, from the book of Acts to the book of Revelation, right? It is at all costs, regardless of what happens to you. Never stop spreading the gospel, right? And so be prepared for that. Have your mind and your heart set on that, because we get into this mark of the beast time that I believe Christians are going to have to go through. And if you are willing to cave, so part of learning these things is so that you don't cave to those things. But if you get to the point where you're willing to cave in and take this mark, the Bible is really, really clear. Anybody that takes a mark is going to burn in hell forever, right? Because they've it's not just a mark on your hand, right? It's obedience to Satan, and it's worship of Satan, and it's saying, Satan, I trust you.
Where your heart is,
right?
You know,
and it's saying, Satan, I trust you to provide for me, rather than God, right?
Yeah.
And so you better get, like, most and foremost, that needs to be took care of, right? And if it's not, then all of this is really a pointless conversation, if I'm just being 100% honest with you, right? So please, 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 I would even say pack a Bible with you for lots of reasons, right? To get fed spiritually, right? As part of that. To have something to get your mind off things every once in a while, right? And just pray and those kinds of things. And there's instructions biblically.
Yeah, and you know, if you have children and stuff, they still need to know the Word. And
that's right.
You know, you can read the Bible out loud, and if they don't know how to read or whatever, you know what
exactly.
I mean? And to still stay strong and stuff for the Lord.
Yeah, yeah. And read those stories about the Lord dropping meat off for Elijah while he's out in the middle of nowhere and nothing to eat, and he uses a bird to drop meat to him.
Yeah.
Right? Those kinds of things. Seek first the kingdom of God, and the rest of these things will be added unto you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to comment down below. Please let us know things you need to get better at, or things that most people probably need to get better at. Let's get our minds stirred up and be thinking about these things.
Yes. And please subscribe if you have not already. Yes. There's a lot of people, I think, that watch our videos that haven't subscribed, maybe.
So, sneaky point, I can look at that.
Yeah.
Right? And it's somewhere like 70 or 80% haven't subscribed.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
It really helps us out. Thank you, guys.
Like our videos. It helps the algorithms and all that in YouTube world. Now, the point of our channel is to help people the most possible that we can and show the glory of the Lord through these videos, right? That is the point. But the more that video gets viewed, liked, shared, and commented on, the more that video gets pushed up, which means you're helping us to help people and to share the Lord with other people. So please help us out. And guys, I know we haven't put out much content yet lately, but things have just been super busy, but we are trying. Also, want to say thank you to those of you that have reached out because we haven't put out much content and was worried about us and those kinds of things.
Thank you guys.
In a weird, twisted way, it kind of blessed my heart.
It did.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.